They are called Labubu, and they're everywhere now. On shelves in toy stores, on desks in offices, on TikTok videos, in collector displays. Labubu has quietly become a global trend. With its oversized grin, childlike eyes, and mischievous poses, it looks like nothing more than a cute, quirky collectible. But here's the question. If Labubu is just a toy, why is it everywhere? Why is this little chaos creature being embraced by millions without a second thought? Could it be more than just a trend? Today we're putting Labubu side by side with something far more obviously evil, Pazuzu, the ancient demon of destruction. One looks terrifying, the other looks adorable. But which one is actually more spiritually dangerous? Most people would point at Pazuzu without hesitation. After all, it's terrifying. Clearly evil, right? But what if I told you that the Bible paints a very different picture about how darkness often appears in this world? Here's what it says in the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 14. And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light. Let that sink in. Evil doesn't always wear a scary face. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it's playful. Sometimes it shows up looking like a harmless toy. Pazuzu is an ancient figure from Mesopotamian mythology, a demon from the region's spiritual traditions thousands of years ago. Pazuzu was considered the demon of the southwest wind, a bringer of plague, disease, famine, and chaos. In some cases, he was ironically invoked to ward off other demons, but even then, his presence was always dark, fearsome, and destructive. Modern audiences mostly recognize Pazuzu from a movie called The Exorcist, a 1973 horror film that shook the world. In the movie, Pazuzu possesses a young girl, causing her to do horrific things, speak in demonic tongues, defile herself, and torment her family. The movie portrays the terrifying spiritual warfare that can happen when demonic forces are given room to enter a person's life. Pazuzu is shown as the embodiment of demonic oppression, and for many Christians, his presence is easily identifiable as dangerous and unholy. And that's the key point here. He's easy to spot. He's scary, grotesque, uninviting. Most believers, even those only vaguely familiar with spiritual warfare, would naturally avoid something like Pazuzu. We'd never let a Pazuzu statue into our homes. We'd never encourage our children to admire his image. He screams, "Stay away," just by existing. But now let's compare that to something far more subtle, something far more accepted. Meet Labubu. If you've never heard of it, you're not alone. But chances are you've seen it in passing. Labubu is a small, grinning figure from Pop Mart's The Monsters collectible toy line. It has huge ears, childlike eyes, a long-toothed grin, and poses in various mischievous or playful scenarios. In many photos and figures, it looks like it's having fun, sometimes playing pranks, sometimes dressing up as other creatures, and always keeping that same cheeky smile. At first glance, Labubu looks adorable. You might even find it charming. It's sold in stores all over the world, often marketed to young adults or collectors. Some see it as cute chaos, others see it as a harmless novelty. It doesn't scream demonic or evil. In fact, many would say it doesn't represent anything spiritual at all. But here's the twist. Labubu symbolizes chaos, unpredictability, and mischief. Traits that are often celebrated in today's culture as fun and freeing, but can actually be deeply spiritually misleading when embraced without discernment. Labubu is the smiling symbol of do what you want, laugh at order, break the rules, and don't take anything seriously. And while that might sound like harmless fun, it echoes something much deeper in the Bible. Let's go back to the verse in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light. That verse doesn't just tell us Satan is sneaky, it tells us that he disguises himself as good, as helpful, as beautiful, as trustworthy. He doesn't always show up looking like a horror movie villain. Often he shows up smiling, with innocence, with sweetness, just like Labubu. And what does Jesus say in the book of Matthew chapter 7, verse 15? He warns us plainly, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. That's a direct picture of deception, something that looks innocent on the outside, but harbors danger on the inside. Labubu may not be a prophet, but it fits the pattern. Externally charming, internally aligned with themes of rebellion, mischief, and rejection of divine order. Think about it this way. No Christian parent would decorate their child's bedroom with a statue of Pazuzu, but many wouldn't blink twice before placing a whole row of Labubu figurines on their child's bookshelf. That's the danger. When evil looks evil, it's easy to resist. But when evil looks harmless, we welcome it in. The purpose of this comparison isn't to demonize toys or make you fear every playful image in pop culture. The point is spiritual discernment. Not everything that appears innocent actually is. Not every smiling figure is free from spiritual messaging. The enemy has learned to disguise himself, not as fire and brimstone, but as charm and chaos. The Bible does not leave us without guidance when it comes to recognizing spiritual deception. In fact, some of the strongest warnings come not about monsters or demons that appear terrifying, but about the things that look safe, even godly. In the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 14, the Apostle Paul writes, "And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light." This is one of the most revealing verses in the entire Bible when it comes to understanding how the enemy operates. Satan doesn't always show up with horns, flames, and grotesque features. No, sometimes he comes looking like light, truth, beauty, and wisdom. He knows that open evil is easy to reject, but if he disguises himself in what looks good, people are more likely to open the door. Jesus himself offers a warning in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 15. "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves." This paints a picture of something that is both deceptive and dangerous, something that pretends to be part of the flock, something that looks safe and trustworthy on the outside, but is a predator at heart. And this isn't just about prophets or teachers. The principle applies broadly. Evil does not always come with a warning label. This pattern starts as early as the Garden of Eden. In Genesis chapter 3, we meet the serpent, the creature who tempts Eve. The Bible doesn't say the serpent looked monstrous or terrifying. In fact, it says, "Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. It was intelligent, persuasive, and subtle. It came not with force, but with a question. Did God really say?" That's the strategy. Not open confrontation, but slow, gentle, clever deception. The serpent didn't frighten Eve. It made her think. It made her curious. It sounded reasonable. And that's what makes spiritual deception so dangerous. It doesn't shock you. It slips in gently and shifts your perspective before you even realize it's happening. Fast forward to our world today, and you'll see that the same old tactic is still working. Only now it wears different clothes. Today, evil doesn't always arrive snarling like Pazuzu, the ancient demon. That kind of darkness is easy to spot, and most people know to run from it. Instead, evil often shows up looking like a joke, a trend, a collectible figure, a viral meme. It looks like a cute toy on your shelf. It sounds like a catchy song on the radio. It scrolls by in a fun video with millions of likes. This is where Labubu comes in, the playful, grinning, chaotic character that seems harmless at first glance. It's marketed as fun, mischievous, and adorably wild. And because it doesn't claim to be evil, people let it in. No questions asked. But the Bible tells us to test everything. Just because something is cute or clever doesn't mean it's spiritually clean. Think about it. If Satan transforms himself into an angel of light, wouldn't his messages sometimes come through the most unexpected forms? A cartoon character, a harmless toy, a pop culture icon, a joke people repeat without thinking. These things seem innocent, but often carry deep messages of rebellion, confusion, pride, lust, or mockery of truth. The spirit behind them may not always scream demonic, but the influence over time can still pull hearts away from God. And the most dangerous part? When something feels innocent, we put our guard down. We don't pray about it. We don't test it. We don't ask if it's in line with God's spirit. We just let it in. That's how deception works. It catches you not when you're alert, but when you're relaxed, entertained, or distracted. This is where the conversation becomes urgent. A lot of Christians are vigilant when it comes to big, obvious threats. They won't touch horror movies about demons. They won't play with Ouija boards. They don't go near witchcraft or dark imagery. But when it comes to things that look cute, funny, or artistic, their spiritual radar shuts off. Suddenly, it's just a show, just a figure, or just part of the culture. And yet the spiritual influence is still there. Only now it's harder to detect. We must remember, deception works best when it looks like fun. A wolf dressed in sheep's clothing is still a wolf. Satan dressed as an angel of light is still Satan. A spirit of chaos wearing a smile is still a spirit of chaos. The real danger isn't always in the things that scare us. It's in the things we welcome. That's why the Apostle John gives this command in his first letter, chapter 4, verse 1. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. We must test the messages behind what we watch, collect, and admire. We must ask, what kind of spirit is this celebrating? Is this pulling me closer to God or desensitizing me to spiritual danger? Am I letting something into my life that looks harmless but whispers rebellion? The truth is, the spiritual world is real. It doesn't sleep just because we're distracted, and every door we open matters. So let's come back to that opening question. Have you ever thought about what spiritual doors you're opening through what you watch or collect? It's easy to ignore. It's easy to shrug it off. But spiritual influence doesn't need your permission to affect your soul. It only needs access. And sometimes the scariest evil isn't the one that frightens us. It's the one that makes us smile. It's the one we welcome into our homes, decorate our shelves with, give as gifts, and laugh about. It's the one we don't test. So before you add another figure to your collection, before you share another trend, before you embrace another just for fun moment, ask yourself, what spirit is behind this? Is this harmless fun or spiritual confusion dressed in cuteness? Because not everything that glitters is good. Not every toy is just a toy, and not every smile is innocent. Stay awake. Stay alert. Test the spirits, because the enemy doesn't always knock. Sometimes he smiles.